Hi everyone, this video will be about the fine-tuning argument. Now, I consider this argument to be one of the top 3 arguments in favour of God's existence. It's one of the reasons why I'm still a Christian. Now, there's a lot of really great videos on YouTube that talk about this argument and explain it in detail. The best one I've seen is done by William Lane Craig's ministry. I'll link that in the description below, so I recommend you check that one out. I won't explain the fine-tuning argument in detail, given that I've linked to that video by William Lane Craig's ministry, but I will summarise it. The fine-tuning argument is the observation that constants and quantities in our universe are exactly right for life to emerge and exist. If these constants and quantities were even the tiniest bit different, life would not be possible. These constants and quantities have been finely tuned to an astonishing level of precision, and if they were any different, life as we know it would cease to exist. This raises a question: why are they so incredibly precise? Can we simply put this down to chance? I would argue that we cannot. The fine-tuning of our universe is solid evidence that the universe was engineered by a superior intelligence. Atheists don't like this argument, since it speaks of a higher power having brought our universe into being. As a result, they put up several counter-arguments. The first argument they generally put up is to appeal to the anthropic principle. This is the idea that the only reason we're asking the question about the universe and the fine-tuning therein is because we live in a universe that is fine-tuned enough to allow life. If the universe was instead the kind that was not compatible with life, we wouldn't be here as intelligent beings to ask the question. This counter-argument strikes me as a bit self-defeating. It's a truism, meaning a statement that says nothing new or interesting. To me, appealing to the anthropic principle seems a bit like this. Imagine some phenomenally unlikely coincidence, like 100 unrelated events all interacting in unexpected ways to bring about a stunning conclusion. Then a bunch of people shrug their shoulders and go, well, that's interesting. They take a dismissive attitude to something that should not have been possible and is effectively miraculous. I don't see how appealing to the anthropic principle is an effective counter against the fine-tuning argument. The second argument used is the multiverse theory. This is a claim that there is not just one universe, there is a tremendously huge amount of universes in existence. Each of these universes has different constants and quantities, so there's likely a vast array of different configurations of the constants and quantities. Some of these would be fine-tuned to allow life to exist, others would not. We just happen to be in one of the universes where the fine-tuning is right for physical life to exist. This is usually put together with the anthropic principle, so the argument goes that we happen to be in a universe where life is possible. If we were in a universe where life was not possible, we wouldn't be here to debate the issue. I'll be honest, I think that the multiverse theory is beautiful in its elegance and simplicity. I do love it. However, I don't think it's a good explanation. To start with, it hasn't been proven scientifically. As yet, there is insufficient evidence to prove this theory correct. What I find ironic is that having interacted with atheists who are scientifically knowledgeable, some of them hold to the multiverse theory already, even though it hasn't been proven. The ironic thing is that I'm accused as a Christian of having faith in something that doesn't have sufficient evidence to believe in, that the God of the Bible has not been proven beyond doubt. The same people who accuse me of this may actually hold to the multiverse theory as the best explanation for our universe, even though they don't yet have the ultimate proof. In both their case and my case, the person is accepting an explanation without sufficient evidence for certainty and subsequently staking their eternity on this being fact. I know that atheists would claim that there's a difference between the two of us, but I really don't see it. On the one hand, they have a scientific theory that explains the universe. It neatly accounts for all the things we see in our universe. On the other, I have an explanation that does the same. In both cases, it greatly impacts on whether the person acknowledges and serves God. Therefore, it has potentially eternal implications either way. What I think is happening in this instance is that these atheists tend to be people who like science and scientific explanations. Since a multiverse theory gives a scientific explanation rather than a supernatural one, they prefer it out of hand. I think they're put off by the theological language and supernatural implications of the God hypothesis. I once read a debate between a theist and an atheist, and the theist initially used theological language. At one point, he changed the language to suggest that the universe was initiated by an event outside of our physical existence. That's something supernatural, in other words, acting outside or above the usual physical laws, might have been the initial cause. The atheist was much more comfortable with this and didn't argue against it. It made me wonder, is a bias against the God hypothesis stopping atheists from considering it as a viable possibility? I have my own personal objection to the multiverse theory. There's Occam's razor, which tells us that the simplest solution is almost always the best. Unnecessarily complicating things is to be avoided in order to think clearly. I know that Occam's razor is not some kind of unbreakable command of logic, but it's definitely relevant here. Consider the two alternatives. On the one hand, a supernatural designer and creator created a universe with exquisite fine-tuning to support life. On the other hand, there's a concept of an infinite amount of universes, all with different constants and quantities. Some are effectively dead universes, others must have life. Physicists have calculated the likely number of universes if a multiverse exists, and it's a phenomenally massive number, way beyond the human mind's ability to comprehend. To my mind, a multiverse with an astronomically large number of universes is overcomplicating the matter. Now, I know earlier I admitted that the multiverse theory itself is elegant in its simplicity, but that's the explanation, which is simple. Can you imagine how complicated reality would become if we had to deal with and account for astronomically large amounts of universes, all with different constants and quantities? It opens the door to a level of complexity that is hard to fathom. So yeah, it's simple in theory, but incredibly complicated if it is reality. Why is such a complicated reality acceptable, but a much simpler reality, like a universe created by God, unacceptable? One more point. I've discussed the multiverse with an atheist friend before, and he thinks it's a better explanation for the universe than a creator God. I think there's an interesting dilemma for someone like him. You see, if there are many different universes, then there are many different versions of yourself in these parallel universes. If you're a scientist in this universe, there's a universe in which you're an engineer, one where you're a professional artist, one where you're the prime minister of your country even. If that's true and you are currently an atheist, there's a universe where you are a Bible-believing Christian. Given that we can infer this, how do you know that you, the atheist, are right about the universe? Your alternate self believes in God and the Bible, he's very well read, educated and thought out, the same way you are. How can you say that you are right and that he is wrong? How then can you be confident that what you believe about the universe is correct? I'm sure the atheists will object to this. They'll say, well, if that's correct, then there's an atheist version of you, Ben. How can you be sure that you are right and he is wrong? The problem is, I don't believe in a multiverse. I don't hold to that as an explanation for the universe. So it's not a problem for me to address. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!